after all of this is said and done, we cannot let this nation go back into what I call the somnolence or the slumber of racism denial. When I was president of the American Public Health Association in 2016, I launched our association on a national campaign against racism with 3 tasks. The first is to name racism, to say that word. Don't be shy. You know, it's good to talk about, you know, race, or good to talk about, you know, implicit bias or disparities or discrimination. Those are good things to talk about, but we have to talk about racism because that's the system that makes race have any pertinence in the first place. We need to name racism. We need to identify the mechanisms by which it's operating, which are all in our decision-making processes, by asking the question, how is racism operating here? Looking at the who, what, when, where, how, and why of decision-making, especially who's at the table and who's not, what's on the agenda and what's not. And finally, we need to organize and strategize to act. NAACP is like right positioned right there to help organize and strategize to act. And if I were to name my 3 top policy agenda things for an anti-racist agenda, the first would be reparations for descendants of Africans enslaved in the US. My colleague Vernelia Randall, an attorney in Ohio, says DAEUS, D-A-E-U-S, is an ethnic group that we need to identify, descendants of Africans enslaved in the US. We need to have reparations for us. We need to have decarceration, abolitionism, all of this. Angela Davis, way back in the day, was talking about decarceration as a platform, right? Because we are first of all, the United States incarcerates a much higher proportion of any of its population than any other country in the world, and we are overrepresented in that. That's the second. And the third is huge investment in our communities, and especially around our children, so that nobody could say the words disadvantaged child and have it any meaning, because there should be no child who is born into disadvantage. So I will stop here and get other people's questions or comments.